Hello everybody and welcome to Legal Studies Unit 4, Area of Study 2, the People, the Parliament and the Courts, Part 3. The focus of today's video is dot point 3, the reasons for and the effects of statutory interpretation. What is statutory interpretation? Statutory interpretation is the process by which judges interpret words or phrases in an Act of Parliament in order to give the words meaning. Judges may be required to interpret the words of a statute when a case comes before the court if the intention or meaning of the words used are in dispute. Judges can either broaden or narrow the meaning of words in statutes through their interpretation. The meaning given to interpreted words or phrases will form the ratio decidendi and establish a precedent to be followed in future like cases. The judge's interpretation does not change the words in the Act. It adds meaning to them and the definition will be read alongside the Act in future cases. The reasons for statutory interpretation. There are a few reasons for statutory interpretation, however for the purpose of this video we would just be looking at 3. The first reason is broad wording. Generally, legislation is drafted in broad and general terms but needs to be applied to specific circumstances. Courts are required to give a more precise meaning to Parliament's vague terms to apply the words to the case at hand. An example of this is the full court of the Family Court had to interpret the word man in the 2003 Kevin and Jennifer case to determine if the requirement of a marriage to be between a man and a woman meant the person had to be a man at the time of birth or marriage. The second reason is the failure to foresee future circumstances. Whilst Parliament makes laws with the future in mind, it is not possible for them to foresee all possible future circumstances. The court will need to consider the purpose and context of the law to fill in the gaps and determine whether the legislation should cover the unforeseen situation. An example of this is a de facto relationship, which once meant a man and woman living in a domestic relationship. Now, it means a couple living in a domestic relationship, regardless of gender. The final reason is the meaning of words change over time. The meaning of words used in legislation may change over time. Courts will need to determine what the current meaning of the word should be. The effects of statutory interpretation. The first effect of statutory interpretation is that words and phrases are given meaning. Words and phrases are often given a more specific meaning through interpretation so judges can apply it to the case before them. For example, in the studded belt case, a regulated weapon was defined to mean an object with a primary use as a weapon and with no other primary use. This narrowed the scope of the law to exclude other items which may be used as weapons when this is not their primary purpose. The second effect of statutory interpretation is the creation of precedent. If the interpretation is through a superior court of record, the ratio decidendi will form a precedent. The precedent is then read alongside the Act to determine the complete law and therefore the outcome of the future case. That concludes today's video. I hope that your knowledge of dot point 3 from Unit 4 Area of Study 2 has been consolidated. As always, if you do have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below or send me an email. Thank you.